This is the Kudila television channel broadcasting on Friday, 5th of July 2024, the day after the so-called general election took place in the so-called United Kingdom on the 4th of July 2024, Thursday. The biggest numerical losses of parliamentary seats occurred in the so-called Conservative Party or the Tories, and the second biggest losses caused to and caused by the SNP, Scottish National Party, which has been reduced to, I think, 5 seats or 6 seats. It has lost dozens of seats. This election has been held after the embarrassments concerning the corruption by the husband of Nicola Sturgeon, the SNP's leader for more than 10 years, I think, and the first minister. Also happened after Hamza Yousaf, the Arab SNP first minister, who took over after Nicola Sturgeon had to resign. So it was Sweeney who fronted the SNP when the 4th of July 2024 election took place. And Sweeney has been reduced to nothing in terms of political impact and influence. So the Labour Party has gained while the SNP has lost in Scotland, which means that the so-called demand for the referendum for an independent Scotland has now been put off by more than 20 years, I would say, because it would take more than 20 years for the SNP to recover anything like the number of seats in Parliament, Westminster, and proportionately at the regional Scottish Assembly when that happens, when that election happens. The other notable thing is that the Lettish Truss, the Lettish defeated Liz Truss. Now Liz Truss has been wiped out as a candidate, as has Penny Mordaunt, as has Jacob Rees, the racist, lying scum, mug, bad man. And the criminal, nasty Nigel Farage, has been allowed to be voted for in Clacton. This is the 8th attempt by nasty Nigel Farage to become a member of the British Parliament. And this is the 8th time he has been able to break the mold of not getting elected. He is rejected by voters in 7 attempts that he made. And the most significant contextual reference In this note, this broadcast is about Rochdale, where George has been defeated by Labour Party candidate. And George Galloway, of course, has not wiped Angela Rayner off the political map. Now, we should criminality, the corruption, the cruelty, the lack of compassion represented by the political murderer of the Labour Party, Keir Starmer, who becomes Prime Minister sometime today, if he hasn't been sworn in yet. He will be. We shall be talking about the question that the BBC online is asking visitors. What would you like the new government to do? What would you like to tell the new government, etc., etc.? The most important question is, why doesn't the BBC report about the absence of accountability at any, whatever the number of members of parliament who are or the biggest number in the opposition, whatever that party is. And as of today, it is the Conservatives, of course. I think the deformed party, fronted by the festering liar Farage, has got as many votes, as many seats in parliament, as many members of parliament in parliament as the Greens, which for the first time, the Greens have got more than one member of parliament. So that will be interesting to watch. The fact that Galloway has lost his bid to become an MP in Rochdale again is very, very significant indeed. Galloway is a liar. Galloway is a racist. Galloway is the complete, utter, absolute, dishonest, careerist, opportunist. Now, after Rochdale, where else can he go? What can he grab hold of in terms of a by-election side, by-election opportunity? When can a by-election happen, giving him any pretext to claim that he is the main voice in the United Kingdom for the Palestinians? He never has been, but he has always been allowed by the racists in Britain to claim that he is the one who is the authentic, legitimate voice of the Palestinian people, legitimate voice of the supporters of the Palestinian people in the United Kingdom. All the evidence shows that the candidates that have stood as either independents, the only independent that has actually been returned is the one that was the most crucially symbolic seat in Islington North. That would be a comfort for supporters of Jeremy Corbyn because he has defeated the Labour Party, and the swing against the Labour Party in Islington and to the independent candidate has been most remarkable. So Jeremy Corbyn has made, I think, an achievement. I mean, it's worth noting just for the records that he has beaten Keir Starmer in Islington North because it was Starmer who prevented Corbyn from standing as a Labour Party official candidate in his own previous constituency, Islington North. So Corbyn obviously has been elected. Now we shall check on the other names, including Diana Abbott, who would have been elected in Hackney and Stoke Newington because she was allowed to stand as a Labour Party candidate. And we shall be continuing the updates. In relation to the overhyping of Luthu Rahman in Tower Hamlets after the October 2023 events in Palestine, the Daily Mail, the Zionist Daily Mail's Zionist criminal Pierce published a commentary incredibly, embarrassingly, stupidly overhyping the potential electoral influence of Luthu Rahman. He said that Luthu Rahman's Aspire party would pose serious electoral challenge to the Labour Party because of Starmer's refusal to condemn the massacre and genocide of the Palestinians. That's not what Andrew Pierce said, but he was reflecting on that because in the immediate aftermath of the genocidist attack by Netanyahu on the Gaza population, there were demonstrations outside the Labour Party, official Labour Party in the Bethnal Green, Cambridge Heath Road in the Bethnal Green and Bow constituency, as it then was. The Boundary Commission, of course, renamed and redivided the boundary, and Bow constituency in Newham had created a new constituency called Stratford and Bow, but near the Bethnal Green Underground Station, where well, MP at the time, One of the things that has happened in the last about 2 or 3 days before the actual election on the 4th of July was the Times newspaper running a front page main lead story, which used the word pregnant and ascribed it or attributed it to the widely notorious adulterer and liar Boris Johnson, who made far too many women pregnant. And to say that any super extra majority that Keir Starmer will get in the House of Commons after the 4th of July 2024 election posed a threat. Posed a threat to the British democracy, as he said. And the word pregnant was used by the Times. I'm just looking for the copy of the Times so that I can quote the exact front page heading. Let's see if I can reach it. Get the Times. Well, the Times on Thursday itself at the heading, Labour set for biggest majority since 1832. This is the Times. Labour set for biggest majority since 1832. And the Times on the Wednesday, that is the day before, had the pregnancy. Let's see if I can find it. Yes, that is the pregnancy word, the heading. Can you believe this? That is the one. Pregnancy. Both copies on both the Wednesday edition and Thursday, 4th of July editions sold out. So I had to travel right across the town. And I had to go to many stores before I could find the Times of Thursday. Johnson and pregnant there. So I've managed to find that one. Although Boris Johnson was identified as having impregnated the daughter of the former Labour Party member of the House of Peers, Petronella Watt, while Petronella Watt was on the staff of the Spectator, while Boris Johnson was incumbent as so-called editor of the same Spectator. Petronella Watt, whose mother is Eastern European, didn't tell her mother that she had agreed to abort the child. At least one child was murdered as a fetus at the insistence of the adulterer criminal, Boris Johnson. And it was Petronella Watt's mother who somehow found out that Boris Johnson had impregnated her daughter. And she it was who made the fact of the affair and the impregnation and the abortion known. So for the Times to use that word pregnant in a heading containing Boris Johnson politically. Johnson, big Labour win, is pregnant with horrors. Now, of course, Boris Johnson is not meaning horror in the ordinary sense of the word horror. He is trying to abuse the word horror to horrify the then potential voters to not vote in large numbers for the Labour Party fronted by Keir Starmer. Both Starmer and Johnson are on the record as having colluded, having been complicit with the depraved DEFRA in the agenda DEFRA had of harassing, traumatizing, demonizing Helen MacDonald for standing up for the innocent baby angel Geronimo. So there is absolutely no real truth in the slightest suggestion that there is any difference between the Conservatives fronted by Boris Johnson or fronted by Rishi Sunak and the Labour Party fronted by Keir Starmer at all. We shall be talking about all of these in due course. Now, of course, the candidate that became a candidate in the election simply because he acquired a name for himself, sometimes as a solicitor for Shamima Begum. And in endorsing, he became a candidate at the election. And one of the independent candidates for a Newham constituency, Safia Naqvi, endorsed him and said that he was well known as a campaigner for human rights. Now, these people stood, many of them, absolute majority of the independents so-called, stood with no chance whatsoever of getting anywhere near getting elected. Not because they didn't have a long list of slogans, but they had no in terms of campaigners or in terms of campaigning. At any time outside of the period in the run up to the election, since the election was or called. So today, Friday, the 5th of July 2024, is the day when Rishi Sunak is truly sunk politically. What pretension did Boris Johnson make, as reported by the Times? And the headline, Labour win is pregnant with horrors. Former Prime Minister attacks Putinistas and Corbynistas as he joins campaign trail for Sunak with hours to go. This is a byline. Chris Smythe, Whitehall editor, and Tom Kalba, data editor. These are people without any morality. There is no moral or ethics or transparency editor at all, is there? Boris Johnson joined the election campaign trail last night to warn that the Labour landslide victory was pregnant with horrors and derided Nigel Farage as a Kremlin crawler. These are the people who are liars, congenital liars, absolutely shameless, immoral liars. Farage and Johnson shamelessly lied against the European Union or against the United Kingdom staying in the European Union. And now Johnson is accusing Farage of being a crawler for Kremlin, for Putin. We shall be talking about all of these liars and lies in due course, of course, but whatever the number of the Labour Party members of Parliament, there is not going to be any accountability at all. Not because the number is too large, because there won't be anything like the morality and the ethics that should be present in the minds of the individual Conservative MPs to challenge any immorality, any unethical, anti-transparency, anti-accountability, anti-democratic behavior, tendency by the Labour Party. Now this is now going to end, we are going to end this one at just coming up to 1100 hours GMT on Friday the 5th of July 2024.